why they trying to be content creators and trying to go viral. You want to go viral?
Okay, you want to go viral. Let's go viral then.
Say less.
Let go.
Let's embrace it. Let's love it. Let's enjoy it. And let's give them the experience of their life. That's Roswell for you, baby. Come together. And guys, this is Speaking Out Loud. I appreciate you guys joining us. Don't forget to share and dance like you just don't care. It's early in the morning. Let's have a day. And like I said, be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Shout out PMS.
Good morning and welcome to Speaking Out Loud. I am your host, Rene Ruiz. And joining me today will be Mr. Tim Foley. He'll be joining us here roughly around 6:45. That is our college football enthusiast and former UNM alum athlete. And also joining us later on today at 7 a.m. will be Sean Reider. He is the UNM Beat Writer for the Albuquerque Journal. We'll get his reaction to his full experience watching the UNM Lobos versus the Minnesota boys. We came up short, got into overtime, a game that we probably definitely could have won, maybe should have won. Some heroics there late in overtime, game-winning touchdown by Minnesota to get it done. So shout out to those boys. But UNM seems to be on the up and up, but there's a little bit of a twist to all of it, considering that their AD athletic director Lovo has now left the program and is on his way to Colorado, or he's probably already there. I saw him giving a post for himself, welcoming himself to the Colorado Buffs. So he'll be joining Deion Sanders and those boys to try and turn. I don't want to say turn that program around because it seems like Deion has done that for the most part, but I guess the correct word to use will be to elevate the program. And now should we expect from the New Mexico Lobos? We're going to find out. We're going to ask Sean those tough questions, and hopefully we get some insight on it. And then for Tim Foley, we're going to find out. We're going to get into the matchups for the college football playoffs. We have Miami and Ohio State that will be kicking off tomorrow at 5:30 Mountain Standard Time. Then you have Oregon, Texas Tech on New Year's Day, which will be Thursday, Alabama, Indiana, and Ole Miss and Georgia. So we're set up for a good slate of football games during the week. And then to cap it all off, we have a beautiful weekend of the NFL that turned out, it was going to turn out to be a boring weekend, a boring week 18. And football gods just blessed us. And now we have a couple playoff games. And that would be our Sunday night, starting with our Sunday night football game, which will be Pittsburgh versus the Baltimore Ravens. And then on Saturday, you got the Seahawks, Niners, and the Bucks and Carolina Panthers. So, gosh, we're set up. We are set up perfectly with football for the next couple days. And there's also a little bit of basketball going on. Yesterday, Jokic seemed to be grabbing at his leg. He's supposed to be having an MRI, so hopefully that's nothing serious. I don't know if it's the knee or the Achilles, but either or, man, prayers up for Nikola Jokic, because basketball is a lot better when the best talent is out there. And Jokic is probably the best player in the league alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I called Shane Gillis a couple weeks ago. What a fool. What a fool for that one. But yesterday we had a football game, and it was Rams and Falcons. I know a lot of us kind of probably put that game away, probably weren't even paying attention, probably weren't even watching, because we all expected the same thing, right? Even Vegas had them at -7.5-point favorites. We all thought this was Matthew Stafford, go get that MVP. Let's close the door. And instead, what did he do? He left it wide open. And now we're more confused than we could ever be. You got the Los Angeles Rams, the 6th seed in the NFC, sitting at 11-4. They go down to Atlanta and drop a big one, losing 27-24. They were down 21 going into the half, down 24-3 at some point in the third quarter. And then the Los Angeles Rams slowly creeped themselves back in. But the reason that they got into that was because of Matthew Stafford's 3 interceptions. Gosh, what a rough game. He had a pick six right before the half. Put them up 21-0. But it was this is one of those games where you come out of it and you're just like, gosh, man, if the Rams could just stop shooting themselves in the foot. But most importantly, the one thing I noticed the most is how impactful and important Devontae Adams is to the success of this Los Angeles Rams team. Like these last 2-3 weeks that he's been hurt with a hamstring injury, and if you saw yesterday in the pregame, he looks like he's starting to get it rolling. He looks like he's starting to move very well. He was sprinting, running for a couple passes, looking sharp. I'm assuming they're resting him it's a hamstring. You don't want to mess around with it. If you've pulled a hamstring, I pulled one before, and I'm not near close to the athlete that these guys are, right? So you can only imagine if it's tough for us. Now imagine running at 30, 40 miles an hour, right? And I might be exaggerating a little bit there, but them boys are moving. Absolutely moving. I think it's more like the 20 to 25 speed is where they're locking it up at. With the hamstring injury, they look more like us. They look more human. And that's what they're trying to avoid. But they're definitely missing Devontae Adams, especially out there in the red zone where they seem like they can't get anything done. And Devontae has 12 touchdowns just in the red zone alone. So you remove that from your team, and it's going to get tough. It's going to be tough sledding. But the Rams do lose 27-24. And I think what we learned, too, is that the Rams defense has a little more question marks than we thought. The Rams have allowed 30-plus points in 3 of their last 4 games after allowing 30-plus points in just one game from weeks 1 through 12. This team was hot starting the season, young. This team has a solid front four that can get pressure on the quarterback. The Rams 30 points per game allowed and 370 total yards per game allowed since week 13. Both ranked 27th in the NFL over that span. No. So just when we think that the Rams are pulling themselves away, they have this stretch of just absolutely horrific 4-game stretch on the defensive side of the ball. Because you can't win games giving up over 30 points a game. It's almost impossible. And the one thing we know for a fact, right, is defense wins championships. At the end of the day, you're going to need your defense to make a stop. And yesterday, this defense, like when you watch this, you could make the argument that obviously I think the offense let them down. Although they gave up 27, I think the offense let them down. Those 3 interceptions. It's going to be hard to win a game whenever you have 3 picks, 1 pick six, and there was almost another pick six. So he could have had 4 going into this game. And I believe after that game, that puts Matthew Stafford at 32 with Brett Favre on the all-time leader in interceptions. That's going to hurt the whole Hall of Fame conversation. And yesterday, the conversation started brewing about Matthew Stafford maybe being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. All time. Mr. Dan Olasky on ESPN said that. We brought up that question about maybe 6 weeks ago whenever Matthew Stafford was in the thick of it, playing his best. I'm not saying that he's not anymore, but yesterday was a tough game. But we brought up the conversation to say that if Matthew Stafford were to win the Super Bowl this year, is it fair to put him up there in the conversation with Aaron Rodgers? And we got a lot of pushback on it, but I think when you look at it, Matthew Stafford has accomplished, individually, he's accomplished so much. Of course, he was with the Detroit Lions, and they had, one winning season where they made the playoffs, where there was him and Calvin Johnson. But outside of that, I mean, now all he's done is win with the Rams. That's all he's done is win. And at the beginning of the season, coming into this season, he had a back injury where he wasn't even practicing. And the questions were, is Matthew Stafford even going to be able to get through the season? Is Matthew Stafford even going to start the season? That's where we were at one point. And then yesterday, Troy Aikman on the broadcast says that when they spoke to Matthew Stafford, he said he's actually surprised that this is the best he's felt all year or in his career, which, yeah, you might be over-exaggerating a little bit. I'm sure he felt a little bit better when he was younger, right? But the fact that it hasn't flared back up, I think that's promising. And then now you're coming into the playoffs. But what sucks for the Rams is they could have really used this bye week going into the playoffs, but they have somewhat of a bye week here in Week 18 because they're not playing for much. Because when we look at the playoff picture, it doesn't look like much is going to change. I think the Packers look like they're solidified at 7 with the 9-6-1 record. And then the Rams look like they're going to be sitting well at 6 with an 11-5 record. And after yesterday, they're not moving. So we're going to make the assumption now that everything kind of stays the same, right? You got the Bears at 2, Eagles at 3, Niners at 5. The only thing that's going to change is 1 and 5. The only thing that's going to change is 1 and 5. And that's going to be the Seahawks or Niners. And going into that game this weekend, we found out that Trent Williams has a hamstring injury and is likely going to not play, which I would rest him. So I think if you're the 49ers, what sucks for the 49ers is the bye week would do you better than it would the Seattle Seahawks. The Niners need this to get better. For sure. I mean, for Seattle though too, a gentleman with a concussion over the weekend was Shaheed, their wide receiver. Their late trade, late pickup, got a concussion. I would expect them not to clear concussion protocols for this weekend, based off of a lot of the other concussions we've seen around the league. I mean, I guess if he wants to play, he will. I guess if he wants to, he will. We've seen situations where guys get knocked around and they come right back the next, next couple next couple games. I was gonna say next couple minutes. What's wrong with me? But yeah, so that's not gonna change much. But while we have the Niners, man, let's. Yesterday, I forgot to show this. I got all excited. I was talking about other crap, but Brock Purdy, got some motion. Whenever we had our interview with Jackson a couple weeks ago. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube. It's the linebacker for the UNM Lobos. We interviewed him, and during that interview, that's when Brock Purdy was cooking, and he hit us with the little Dougie. And the conversation around X was, white folks got a little bit of emotion. And Brock Purdy brought it right back out. Let me show you guys this clip real quick. Brock Purdy was doing that thing on Sunday, bro. And this is what gets me excited about this team, man. This team is so juiced up. We gotta take the audio out though, so that way they don't copyright us. But Brock Purdy's nice with it. Keeping his eyes down the field. But then look at this. This boy is so comfortable. Watching it live, bro. That's exactly what I was doing. I was like, yo, this boy is wilding. The confidence in San Francisco is above and beyond what any of us have expected. And kudos to them boys. It's going to be a tough fight this weekend, especially without Trent Williams. I think that's the one thing that we harp on all year is that left tackle position. And like they say, I remember the Titans, man. Left side, strong side. Left side, strong side. Left side, strong side. And without Trent Williams, that's going to be a tough one to get through, man. I'm sure CMC's going to be missing him. I'm sure Brock Purdy's going to miss him. I just hope that he keeps his head on a swivel because that Seahawks defense is moving. DeMarcus Lawrence is playing the best he's ever played in his career. Left Dallas, went over to Seattle, and now he is doing his thing. DeMarcus Lawrence he's always around the ball. At this point, this guy's a ball hawk. Getting sacks, getting strip sacks. I mean, the boy's buzzing. So shout out to DeMarcus Lawrence out there making some noise in Seattle and reviving his career, extending it. Just when people thought he was down and out. I know a lot of folks in Dallas were like, yo, we weren't getting our money's worth. And DeMarcus Lawrence goes, hold my beer. Hold my beer, bud. And now look what he's doing now. Ha! It's insane. It is insane. You got Cheech in the comments saying, fire Mike Tomlin. I think it's fair to say that Mike Tomlin is playing for his job this weekend or on Sunday Night Football in front of the world to see. This is almost like a battle of the fittest between him and John Harbaugh. It does feel, I do think, though, if you're on Baltimore's side, you're almost more willing to give John Harbaugh a chance because of the injuries that they've kind of had to go through. And then if the rumors about Lamar Jackson are true, about them kind of butting heads and Lamar not really focusing on football, kind of falling asleep during meetings or so on and so forth, allegedly, that's at least what's being reported on X. So you take that with a grain of salt, right? So it really does feel like the pressure is on Mike Tomlin because they the moves that they made this offseason indicated that they were going all in, that this was a make or break year. And considering the fact that they have a 42-year-old quarterback, this is kind of it. Because what do you have to look forward to after this? I would assume that Steeler fans in their head are thinking it's probably rebuild season next year. You probably get rid of some of these old head contracts and you try to rebuild. And I guess you're rebuilding around, let's think about it. Well, they drafted that Ohio State quarterback, right? So you got to assume that's the route that they're going to take. Now, let me ask Cheech this in the comments. Cheech, are we comfortable with our backup quarterback going forward after this year? Which, forgive me for not knowing his name, as I probably should. That's a national champion. It's a little disrespectful, huh? But this is what's coming out from them. I'd rather rebuild than this ish. That's happened the last 5 years. Yeah, we're just tired of seeing the same thing. I get it. We're all tired of seeing the same thing. And we all kind of see that within all our teams that are losers, right? Like there's just a different level of success that each team is having. For example, the Steelers are at the point where it's like, I think they would be satisfied with at least just a playoff win at this point because they've gotten to the dance. They've gotten to the dance several times. It's just when they get there, they're the weird kid in the corner that's just staring at everybody else have a good time. That's what the Steelers are right now. They're the iPad kid. They do get invited to the party, but then they just go grab their iPad, go to the corner, and just watch. They watch a kid play on the phone, and then they watch their friends play, and then they just sit. It's not even kids. It's adults at this point now, too. You ever go to a little house party? Everybody's having a good time. There's always that one. But you got to go tell them what's up, man. You got to be a good person. Be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. But Cheech says, I don't care about the dance. I want Super Bowls. And that's because Cheech experienced the Super Bowl. So you get that little taste. You get a taste of that blood just a little bit, and then you want more. And then you become just a little bit greedy because then you don't appreciate the little things in the sport because all you see in your eyes is Super Bowl, which is what we all should. I wish that's where my team was. I wish. But if we're going to be realistic, we just got to enjoy the moments. That's where we're at. We got to enjoy the moments. The experience is better when you live week by week. The experience is so much better when you're living week by week. Week by week. That's where we need to live, Cheech. That's what I'm thinking. But you know one thing we didn't cover while we're on the Steelers, and now this is starting to, obviously after what we saw on Sunday, it is having its effects, right? Not having DK Metcalf. It is having it's starting to have its effects. I mean, we saw how without him they have they have zero weapons. And the running game can't get going because they have no downfield threat. No downfield threats. And that's not a shot. I mean, I don't want to take a shot at their receiving core, but it just goes to show the effect that DK Metcalf has when he's on the field. And just to give you a little backstory, right? So, last week, not this previous week, but the week before, DK has altercation with the fan on the sideline, approaches the fan, grabs him, and takes a swing at him, right? The alleged the guy was an instigator, but now it's being alleged that, or DK alleged that the kid said, or not the kid, it was a grown adult. I need to make sure I say that correctly. The grown adult, DK said that the grown adult was using racial slurs, said stuff about his mom, so on and so forth. The victim said that is not true. And then now it's turned into a much bigger thing. And I think it turned into a much bigger thing because of the way DK responded to it. And now this gentleman went on and had an entire press conference, which feels like an SNL skit. It feels like a joke. And whenever I say life's a comedy, like this is hilarious. The fact that this is real life is hilarious. And you can just look at the graphic here. And I mean, bro is in. Bro, this dude is straight up. Like, as soon as I saw this was hilarious because he shows up in a backwards hat. Mind you, this is supposed to be a serious interview. Bro has a suit and all, right? Just no tie, keeping it a bit cash. But then the hat gets me. The backwards hat all the way down to like just sucked to the head. Yeah, for whatever reason that gets me. As soon as I saw this, I was like, "Yo, this is a joke, right?" It's not. It's not. And then this is the interview. Let's listen to it.
It is really hard to get me upset, but there's two things: animal abuse, racism. Like, I get hot right away. Like, I can feel it in my face. It's all warm. So
Racism and animal cruelty. He gets hot. Those are two solid things to get hot about. I will say that.
I guess I want to be crystal clear about one thing. I didn't use any racial slurs, no hate speech. I mean, none of that stuff at the game. Actually, never. 15 years season ticket holder for the Lions. I've never done that at all. So
He was thinking about that for a second. He's just like, shit, should I say that? Actually, never. Has never happened. So he almost doubled down on it. So if what's being alleged is true, this is gonna come back and bite him in the tush.
to Kalen, if you're watching this, man, if you could just say that, please. Like, my family's getting threats and stuff, and it's not cool. So whether you said that or not, I'm sure you didn't want that to happen to the family. Even if you did, like, I forgive you, man.
This assault occurred about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first half. So what Ryan did say is he used his first name. He asked him to sign a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. But what he did not say is what matters most here. During an entire half of football and for 15 years as a season ticket holder, he did not say any racial slurs. He did not call any names. And most importantly, he complied with the Ford Field guest code of conduct. He did not use any profanity. Again, he did not use any racial slurs, and he followed the rules. And this isn't just me saying it. Ford Field security investigated the incident and allowed Mr. Kennedy to return to his seats after it was determined that no code of conduct violation occurred.
Mr. Kennedy. That's the whole thing is like, I don't even know if it's that big of a deal if DK doesn't come out and say that he said like racial slurs. I think the whole racial slur thing made it a bigger deal than what I think maybe the situation actually was. Now, if the kid did use it, or excuse me when I say kid, when that grown adult antagonized him, I mean, I think that's what comes with it. Like, that's what comes with the sport. But there's a line on things that can say, I guess, right? Not I guess, yes. There's a line that can't be crossed. And that dude, that adult, that grown ass man crossed that line. Maybe. Allegedly. But regardless, he got what he wanted. Now DK's on a 2-game suspension, and guess what? Now the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing for their season. And currently, from what's being said on X, is they're playing for Mike Tomlin's job, which is a bigger deal than just losing a game. Like, DK may cost this dude his job. And not to put that all on DK, because it's obviously a team sport. But DK's antics, DK allowing that fan to get into his skin, you just can't have it. You can't have it, man. Not at this point of the season, not with this much up for grabs. You just can't let that happen. That cannot happen at all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's transition from the NFL and let's go over to college football. Let's bring on our college football insider, enthusiast, former UNM alum. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Foley. Tim, what's up, bro?
Morning, Rene. How are you?
Not bad, man. It's a little chilly out here. How's the weather out there for you?
It's cold, man. It is very cold.
You definitely got to have the heater on in the house now, right?
I got a fire going the whole nine.
Yeah. What do you say? random question, but what do you set your temperature to?
It has to be below 70. Like my house needs to be cold, especially when I'm sleeping. Like I'll set it to like 68 probably.
68. That's about where we like our heater to kick on to. But in the morning, it's like I don't know. It's a double edged sword, right? Like you don't want to get out of bed because it's too cold. But then if your heater's kicked on, you didn't really sleep that great because it was a little warm.
Well, yeah, that, and if you're like we'll kick the heater on a little bit more in the morning when we're getting ready, but there's times when you're moving around too much and it gets too hot in the house and you got to open up a door and then everybody else is cold 'cause
Yeah,
they're not moving around.
just get a little bit of airflow, for sure. But oh yeah, well, Tim, how Christmas? How was Christmas?
Christmas was great. It was my son had a good time. We did it right this year. We a couple years ago we tried to do 3 Christmases in one day, like our own personal Christmas, my family's Christmas, and then my fiance's family. And we were like never again. So today or this year we did it. We did it a little bit better. We did her family. We did her family on Christmas Day. We did my family on Friday, and then we did our own personal one on Saturday. So less stress. You didn't have to wrap up all the gifts in one night. We spread it out. It was definitely the way to do it.
Oh heck yeah, yeah. Trying to shove it all in one day, then you just feel rushed out
Oh
in
yeah,
every situation that you're in. So
nobody was
we
having a good
that's
time.
the that's like the transition of I think when you're single and you go into a relationship, that's like the one thing you don't think about is having to balance out the holidays between both sides of the family. Now, if your families all get along, freaking kudos to you. Not saying that like your family or my family don't get along. I'm sure they do. But like there's families that like they're like best friends. Like the families are like best friends. And if you have that, kudos to you. That's got to be cool. But a house full of like 45 people, that's got to be a tough one too. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. How was your
college
Christmas?
Oh, mine was fun, man. Mine was fun. It was a good time. But Tim, let's go. Let's talk college ball. We have Sean joining us now as well, so we'll go ahead and add him to the chat with us. Let him finish. Get that yawn out. It's bright and early. Sean, ladies and gentlemen, Albuquerque Journal, UNM Lobos beat writer, Sean Reider. Sean, welcome to the show, bro. Appreciate you coming on. Oh, Tim, can you hear him?
No.
Good morning. You guys got me now?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Good deal.
Sean, you cold too? You got the hoodie on. What is it at the house? Like 67?
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, so a little chilly, but we like chilly. We're good with that. So,
Hey, you guys got snow in Albuquerque yet?
I don't think we have, honestly. I was gone for about a week and a half, but I don't think we really have.
Being gone, you were at the Rate Bowl. How was the experience out there?
Rate Bowl was really good. Really impressive showing from Lobo fans for sure. That was yeah, that's the most. I haven't been to a million bowl games, but that was certainly the most engaged I think I've ever seen a bowl game crowd. There were points where it really felt, it was a neutral site, but it felt like a home game for the Lobos. I think the most excited I saw the Minnesota crowd was really the the kind of the walk off TD there that kind of lit them up. But really impressive showing from UNM fans, and I think you kind of look at it. You can kind of look at it two ways for UNM, as a program. I think it was in a lot of respects, just positive for them just being there in the first place and having another crack at a P4 program and all that. But I do think it was, in some ways kind of a missed opportunity and all that, because if they win that game, then, they would have been sitting at 10-3, and it would not have been a stretch with some of the momentum that they kind of had to, maybe they crack the AP top 25, or maybe they get ranked in some other capacity. And that would have been massive for the program. That would have been a first ever ranking. So I do think there's kind of a lot to unpack there, overall for the program. But I think overall, I keep saying overall, but a positive experience.
Yeah, obviously we wanted to come out with that win. Tim, watching that game, what were your takeaways from it?
I think the number one takeaway that everyone in the country saw is that Darius Taylor is an NFL running back. I mean, that man, he's probably one of the best running backs in the country, and unfortunately, he missed about like 5 games this year. And you saw him straight from the jump get on it, and it wasn't. I didn't see it as a lapse in our defense. I mean that there was sometimes we could have done a little bit better, but at the end of the day, he was just a he was the best running back that we faced all year, clearly.
Yeah, I'm with you too, frankly. And I agree. There's not much more that defense could have done in a lot of respects. Maybe the only thing I would say is that, I think in the first half there was like 3 straight drives with like 3 near turnovers and stuff like that. Maybe if one of those kind of bounces a little closer to Kwame McRae or something like that, then that would have made a difference. But I think everybody can kind of look at that game and say, the defense did everything it kind of could, and the offense, you get first and goal at the 1, a little bit closer than the 1. You got to punch it in that spot. You can't lose 6 yards on first and goal, and then kind of dial up passing plays, all throughout as well. So I do think even the I asked about it after, even the one drive where they converted 4th and 7 and kind of no man's land at midfield. And then it was 4 for 3 in like the high red zone, not going for it there. I thought that was pretty surprising. X said he thought, Luka's Wiki's been so good this year that, and he has, that kick was kind of a no brainer in that spot. But even then, I thought that would have been the, maybe a spot where you do try and kind of spark something with your offense, as opposed to maybe the 4th and 2 punt that was, blown up pretty quickly. So. Yeah, I do think, certainly there's a lot of good feelings about the defense today. The offense, a little lacking, though.
Yeah,
Speaking of the
definitely.
offense.
I feel like I feel like the best way we could have handled Darius Taylor would have been having our offense out in the field more. I mean, we were kind of split on the time of possession, and if you look at the numbers, I mean, we obviously our passing yards were way down. We had almost the same rushing yards as them, almost the same total yards. It was kind of lackluster on both sides of both people's offense minus Darius Taylor. But I think if we would have been able to slow the game down, stay on the field more, but I mean it was hard to convert those. I mean you can see Jack Lane kind of having some trouble making those passes downfield, and I would have liked to see us win this game. I'm very happy that we kept it close. Not saying that we should have got blown out or anything like that, but I mean, being able to see close games from UNM, their last 2 games, and you kind of see what kind of a team they are. They really got together in crunch time and did what they needed to do. Unfortunately, we didn't get that win, but I feel like our offense was sputtering a little bit.
No, I think it I think it was sputtering in a lot of respects, and I think part of it too. I know a lot of people. We do like our post game show, me and Jeff Grammer after, and a lot of people were really, what's going on with Lane? Is Lane hurt? Is there going to be a quarterback competition? That kind of deal. And I think you got to go back and look, and like there were issues like protecting Lane from guys like Anthony Smith and 11, that other edge rusher. Those guys are pretty tough to deal with, and Eck kind of talked about in between the San Diego State game and the Minnesota game, and I think these games kind of exemplified it the most. They want, and when they go in the portal and they're looking at guys, they want guys with more tackle bodies. Like they've stressed this first year kind of positional flexibility on the offensive line. Anybody can kind of play anywhere except for maybe Caden Robinette. He's been pretty locked in at center for most of the year, pretty much all of the year. But they were playing Malik Elaine, who's got more of a kind of guard or center type build at tackle. And I think they won the San Diego State game, even though there were some points in that game where it kind of felt like they were teetering a little bit, and obviously came up short in the Rate Bowl. But I think those games kind of exemplify the need to get a little bit bigger on the offensive line, to get those more traditional kind of tackle like bodies in there for when you're dealing with an Anthony Smith and all that as well. But no, I don't think it was Lane's cleanest day by any stretch. I mean, two completed passes in the second half. It's just not going to get done in the vast majority of games, unless you're like the Philadelphia Eagles, like they were kind of doing that the other day. Like
Yeah.
But so yeah.
Yeah, that was my biggest question, or that was the question I was going to ask you. Is watching that game, and excuse me for not knowing his name, but number 13, the other quarterback that they bring in for really
James
like a
Hopsey,
wildcat type offense, he seemed to be more effective than Lane. Is that a legitimate conversation that just the general public will be talking about, whether or not there should be a QB competition for Lane?
Yeah, it's a question we're going to ask at some point. My hunch, so Lobstein, unless he gets legal intervention in terms of getting like an injunction for an additional year because he played JUCO for a little bit, he is not listed in one of the lawsuits that does list New Mexico players, which is a little interesting. Unless he got something like that, he would not be coming back for another year. So at that point, you're kind of looking at a quarterback room, expected quarterback room in the spring of Cade Mitchell, 3-star coming in, early enrollee from Oregon. Jack Lane, obviously, Toa Fave, and then Gabriel Mochenbacher. Cole Welliver announced yesterday that he was going to enter the portal. He could come back. I don't know if he will, but for now, for this my purposes right now, I will say he's not coming back. I do think with that group, it's still kind of hard to imagine a world in which, and I haven't seen Cade Mitchell up close yet, so that's kind of the whole caveat there. But I do think it is hard to imagine a world in which Lane is not starting. I think Lane knows the offense better than anybody in that room at this point. I mean, the numbers like frankly like aren't like, you know, eye popping and all that, but he runs the game well. I mean, he runs the game typically well from what the staff is asking him to do. That has kind of been the number one thing that you can say about Jack Lane is that he does what the staff wants him to do, and it's usually been pretty good, man. You know, there was some obviously early on there was some real interception and turnover play games from him, but he cleaned that up over the 6-game winning streak, and things went pretty well. So I do think, though, that is a question that kind of needs to be asked. You know, and I think Lane, I think he could have a better year next year in a lot of respects, and I think it could also sometimes feel like more of the same. But you know, again, the big caveat though is that you're watching that rape bowl, and I do think there were some issues that came out of simply just weren't giving him enough time. You know, he weren't protecting. He did have some throws, and there was one play in particular where he had the time, and there was one guy wide open over the middle, and that would have been a walk-in TD and all that, and got to kind of see that if you're him, right? That would do away with a lot of these kind of you know, is he hurt or, you know, is he not seeing the field well kind of gripes and all that. But I do think overall at this point, just knowing the staff and knowing Jack, you know, that I do think it would be hard to see him not starting next year at this point.
If I had to compare the experience of watching them this past week was I would compare them to like the Cleveland Browns, where it's like, or before Shedeur Sanders, where it's just like, and I don't mean to put a lot of pressure on Lane here or anything, but watching that offense almost makes you feel like, kind of made you feel gross, because it was almost like, damn, at what point are we going to punt? At what point are we going to punt? And that's all in my head is like, damn, we're never gonna move the ball down the field with this guy. And it felt like we should almost have that number 13 kid in more and just run a Wildcat styled offense than what they were putting out there on the field. But Tim, what are your thoughts on Lane at quarterback?
I'm with Sean. I mean, throughout the year, you can tell that he makes the right decisions. I mean, he's not turning the ball over a whole lot in every game. I mean, you're not seeing those games with 3 or 4 turnovers. He did what he needed to do to get the job done. I'm with Sean on that. Whenever I was watching the game as a Lobo fan, you kind of get flashbacks. You're like, man, if we just were able to keep Devin Dampier, which clearly we never would have. I mean, he's a big team type of guy, but having that dynamic quarterback really makes that any kind of offense pop. And it kind of made me sit there and think like, what? And it is a personal preference, so I'm kind of putting this out to both you guys. Like, what kind of quarterback would you rather have? Would you rather have like the game general? Like, and I'm going to put Jack Lane in there just for example. He's not going to have 200 passing yards in the game. He might have a rushing touchdown or 2. He's going to make great decisions. Or do you want that dynamic quarterback who can extend plays, make plays on the run, and be a real headache for defenses? I mean, whenever we beat Washington State at University Stadium a couple years ago with Bronco Mendenhall, I mean, you could clearly see that it is hard to keep Devin Dampier in the pocket, and because of that, like, we were able to pull off one of the biggest wins at University Stadium, and we lost that right like 2 weeks after that. Him and the OC are gone. So I mean, what kind of quarterback do you guys want if you guys were head coaches of a football team? Would you rather have like that dynamic quarterback or more of like a field general?
Yeah, I think it depends on, you know, kind of the offense that you're running and all that, right? Like, I mean, and like, this sounds like too boring of an answer, but like, if I'm doing what UNM is doing, and it's over the course of that 6-game win streak, hey, my defense is playing at a really high level. Like, we're shutting a lot of teams down. They're doing awesome work. We're running the football pretty well. Then I'm probably going to go with Jack Lane if that's what we're kind of doing in this more pro style offense, right? I think Lane is probably a better fit. But yeah, if I'm running the veer and shoot like Jason Beck was, like, yes, give me Devin Dampier. And that was, you know, and like That was one thing that I remember, with Utah fans, like last year when Dampier was coming in, they were like, oh, this guy's really dynamic and the total offense stat is awesome. But they were all looking and saying he threw how many picks and all that. And that was kind of the knock on him. And I think sometimes it was a little unfair to a certain degree. He ended up cleaning that up pretty well throughout the course of this season. But certainly, man, like Wyoming, like that quick pick six and all that, like that swung that game late for them. And that was not something that Lane kind of did this season, all that as well. Dampier did have those turnovers to figure out. Now, this year's Dampier was a lot better in that regard. So, you probably still would say if you're running that beer and shoot, you would like to have a Dampier. But yeah, I don't know. And I think, Bronco Mendenhall always said it. If you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And I think Dampier is kind of a really good representation of that.
Is Lane a senior?
He's a
senior this year, correct?
Year, so he's got one more year left.
Okay, so I'm assuming they're going to ride it out with him, right? I mean, Jason brought him with him, so you expect him to at least give him this final shot.
Yeah, and he is one of. Oh my God, I don't remember. I think it's 10. I think that's the number of 10 guys that have signed to come back. They've signed the rev share contract. 10 guys that have been announced, I should say. Other guys have signed the rev share contract. They just haven't been announced at this point. But Lane, I think, was like the second guy that was announced there. So he is coming back for sure. And again, that just to preview that quarterback room, if Cole Welliver doesn't come back, that'll be, Cade Mitchell coming in from high school, Toa Fabe, who will be a sophomore, and then, oh my gosh, Gabriel Mochenbacher coming in as well. Unless Mochenbacher decides to pull. For now, you're looking at that.
And it's like you said, it's portal season, open portal season. We got Dorian Thomas, who is our leading tight end. Should we expect more guys to start hitting that portal, or has it slowed down as of this morning? It seemed like everything started to happen yesterday and the day before, right?
Yeah, no, definitely like after the Right Bowl, and I think that's honestly a little bit of a credit to like this team and this group. Really, the one guy, the only couple guys that held out of the Right Bowl were I believe Randolph Kapai, who's technically out of eligibility, but is going to be hitting the portal. I think he has to try and get a waiver from Nebraska to get one of his years there back. Trace Edmondson, who is not entering the portal, I think he's just leaving football to go focus on academics. He's told. And then Jordan Moore, a reserve offensive lineman, will be hitting the portal as well to try and find some additional playing time. But no, I think you can expect to see some for sure over the next week. It has not been as intense as it was like when Bronco left, and it felt like the entire program was leaving. I'll never forget those 3 days after. That's literally all I did, just write down who's entering the portal, just nonstop. And even after I did fired, that was a lot there too. But certainly, I do think you could expect some guys to go, and from what I'm aware of too, Dorian Thomas, like I think is a blow. I think that's a tough one, and from what I'm aware of, Dorian was a guy that was planning on coming back, and then he ended up deciding to make the decision into the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dorian Thomas is a hit to us. He was a great tight end. When watching him throughout the season, I was almost seeing him as like I can see this man, especially with his age, like I can see him being able to get into the league and doing something. I mean, he is a phenomenal tight end, and I was watching him. I was like, it's almost like, how did he end up here type thing. Like I almost kind of realized that if he does what he's supposed to be doing this year, he's most likely going to hit the portal, because a lot of these big schools are they need tight ends like him. And tight ends are they're a hot commodity in the NFL right now. So a lot of them are leaving. The top tight ends, like the Vanderbilt tight end is entering the draft. So there are a lot of these schools that are going to be looking to replace them. And I think he's going to be one of those big names they're going to want to take off that board.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think he fits that mold really, really well. And yeah, he had an awesome season, 100%, right? I think we all knew, kind of from the start of that Michigan game, like, hey, like there's something really here. So no, I do think, he is the one guy right now actively in the portal for UNM that I think has a very, very, very clear P4 shot. The rest of portal entries at this point, I think, honestly, frankly, a good deal will probably be dropping down to another level or going to a lateral kind of G5, G6 move. I do think Daniel Hughes, I thought he had a good season. I think he's a bit of a blow there too, just in the fact that you kind of have to. It's a little tough to like kind of have to reset a punter and all that too. But they do have Charles Steinkamp in the building, and certainly I'm not saying that like punters are like you can just grab one and they're all the same, but like absolutely, I think you can go into the portal and find a guy that maybe isn't as good as Hughes, but does have some quality there. This has been a pretty good in terms of this staff. They've done a pretty good job, in my opinion, of recruiting special teams guys.
And the biggest news is UNM losing their AD Lovo going over to Colorado. What's the news on that, and how will that affect us?
Yeah, so in terms of affecting, like it's it's tough if you're UNM. I mean, truly, and you're a Lobo fan. Like I do feel for fans in this note, in the sense that you lost your basketball coach, you lost your football coach, and you lost your AD, and now you're losing another AD, and it's tough there too. The one thing I'll say, because I'm the football beat writer and obviously I have a more football centric view of kind of things, is that Lovo leaving, it does do one interesting thing with Jason Eck's contract, and that cuts his buyout in half. So Lovo leaving cuts that buyout 50%, so it is $2 million now with Lovo gone. I need to double check the contract terms to see how it goes from year to year at that point. And that was one of the really nice things, I think, for UNM in terms of Jason Eck's contract, and why I kind of thought his rework contract, or actually just completely new contract, I should say, why I thought it was kind of school friendly for UNM was the idea and the element that they kept the buyout the exact same. And I know some people are kind of point at that, but there was no chance in hell that they were going to up that buyout to like $8 million in his first year and then $4 million in his second. All that buyout, I thought they were in a pretty good spot to keep that the same and just kind of reset the clock. So it would have been $4 million for his first 2 years and all that as well. It was $4 million his first contract year and then $4 million this first contract year. Now it's down to $2 million, which is way more manageable. If somebody wants to go get him, most likely at the end of next season. But at the same time, you never know what could happen over the next couple of weeks. But I would still bank on Jason Eck coaching here. But I do think that is one kind of detail that I kind of look at and go, hey, like that's certainly noteworthy. But no, it puts UNM in a tough spot again. But I still don't have any idea of kind of the timeline of what they're kind of looking at and how they're going to approach this in terms of, looking at national guys, looking at UNM has not really released anything at this point. So we will kind of, that's an answer I would love to
happened so sudden. Exactly. It feels like it just kind of came out of nowhere, right? Or was this being talked about?
No, Jeff Grammer and I were sitting in the, Jeff Grammer and I were sitting next to each other in the press box of the New Mexico Bowl in the fourth quarter. And I was thinking, all right, pretty easy. We'll just follow the story and go home. And then looked over and saw the Ross Dellinger tweet. And it's like, oh, that changes a lot. So
Here we go. Yeah.
It was a bit more out of left field and all that too. I don't know when Lobo's introductory press conference is, but I am hoping somebody asks one question about the kind of the timeline of how this all came to be. But overall,
are contracts even contracts anymore? Like what are contracts?
Oh, and they're honoring the contract. I mean, Colorado, I think it was a Daily Camera that they're honoring the contract. They're paying the $800K that is in the contract. So UNM will be getting that in return. They're getting the buyout, but no, it's tough, man.
So good luck to Dion and the Colorado Buffs. Tim, you have any feelings on that whole situation?
Yeah, I mean it was a great thing for Fernando. I mean, unfortunately, it seems like UNM is kind of like a stepping stone for a lot of people, and it's kind of that way with all the kind of like the mid-level teams, the kind of group of 6 teams. He'd had 2 great hires with Jason Eck and then Eric Olin, who's the men's basketball coach. Excuse me, who they're doing really well too. UNM is the only Division I school to go undefeated in basketball and football at home in 2025. So that it's a really big thing. And whenever stuff like that is happening and you have these bigger programs with more money not doing as well, they're going to reach down to get these people. I mean, he's making $1.2 million with the AD over there in Colorado. And it's great for him. Unfortunately, this is just what happens to us kind of middle level teams. I mean, when you look at James Madison, it's kind of the same thing. They're not having any offensive starter returning to their team next year. Only 4 of them graduated. So, I mean, whenever you see success in these mid-level at these mid-level programs, those top tier programs are going to reach down and they're going to go pick them up, and that's just how it is. And now it's kind of like operating like a JUCO. Like you have to build a team almost every year now, and it's unfortunate. It's the world that we're in college football. But it's also a good thing that people are reaching down to UNM to take those people. It just goes to show how great of a program we have, and the facilities and everything that we have, that to be able to bring these type of people in here.
Yeah, good luck to us. Good luck to us this next year as they slowly start to pluck players from us. But let's move on to the college football playoffs. We got a game tomorrow at 5:30 Mountain Standard Time. You got Miami heading over or playing Ohio State in Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium. What are your expectations there, Sean?
Give me Ohio State. Yeah,
Nine and a half point favorites.
Yeah,
That feels a little disrespectful.
I don't know. It feels big, but I don't know.
Not really.
I do think I think I like Ohio State there. I think I like them to win and cover. So I'll take the Buckeyes.
You guys don't think the wind maybe had an effect on what our perception is over Miami, Tim?
I do. I mean, I think it's going to be a closer game than what people are giving it credit for, only because of it being inside, climate controlled. I think I saw something that the last time that Ohio State played in a dome and on turf, they only scored 10 points. So I mean, I'm anticipating Malachi Toney, true freshman, great guy. He's close to that 1,000-yard mark as a true freshman. I'm anticipating him making some big time plays in Jerry's World. I don't think it's going to be enough. Ohio State's going to win this football game. I kind of see them moving forward and possibly winning the national championship. But I see this being a great game. I'm glad that it's happening inside so that we can kind of see that Miami offense, and they can't really blame anything on the wind. And that was significant. And when you have high wind gusts like that, you can't really push the ball downfield. But I think that also is the reason why Miami won that game. It forced them to be able to focus on the run. So I hope that they go into this game, run the football, let Fletcher Jr. kind of get the game going for them, and then Carson Beck throwing the ball to Malachi Toney. And I think it's going to be a great football game to watch. But I do have Ohio State winning.
I like all those points, and I think again. I think I said it with the Texas A&M Miami game. I think the key matchup here is Julian Sain was awesome all year of pressure, except for the Indiana game. That was the one game where they really got him. That's the last game that he played. What is it going to look like with going up against guys like Ruben Bain and all that? How is that going to be managed, and how much pressure is Miami going to be able to get against the Ohio State offensive line in the way they did against A&M? Because they absolutely swarmed Marcel Reed, and I thought A&M was I don't think they had a bad plan outright, but I do think it was a little weird. They kind of played in Miami's hands, just let him sit back and play quarterback and all that, as opposed to, hey, this really athletic guy who can get out in the run and make really special plays for you. Just didn't quite see that at a super high level, at a level that I would have kind of expected. So, no, I don't know. I think I'm very curious to see how that pressure is kind of managed, and if it's not managed, if it's managed more in the kind of Indiana style, then I think game on for Miami at that point. But I am expecting Ohio State to win.
Yeah, I think I got Ohio State to win as well. I do like the whole Michael Irvin antics. That would be fun, belt to ass on the whole trash can thing with the jerseys. He seems a little more energized than most. Probably hoping that it doesn't snow out there in Dallas. But let's move on to Thursday's games. So we only have one game on Wednesday, which is perfect. But then the morning slate, a 10 a.m. game seems a little crazy. But I guess if you're on the Eastern time, noon game is pretty cool. Oregon versus Texas Tech. Tim, where are you leaning there?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. I'm taking Texas Tech over Oregon. I think Texas Tech's defense is phenomenal. I mean, they have probably the best front seven in college football this year. And I was raised under the impression of offense wins games, defense wins championships. So I believe Texas Tech is going to give Oregon a fight. I don't think that Oregon's offensive firepower is going to be able to be enough to get on top of Texas Tech, but I do think it's going to be a great game. I don't remember what the line is for this one. Let me see here.
2.5 Oregon.
Is it 2.5 Oregon? Yeah. And I'm picking Texas Tech to win this football game.
Texas Tech is awesome. And again, I think I said on the last show, this would have been an awesome year for a 14 playoff. Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Indiana, that would have been sweet. Texas Tech 100% deserved to be in that top four. I still have questions about the offense. Like, the defense is amazing. I still am just a little gun shy about the offense, and I know they absolutely kicked the crap out of BYU in the Big 12 championship, but that to me was the defense, man. That was that defense doing exactly what it did well, and I think if they do what they do well against Oregon, then yeah, absolutely they can win the game. But I do think this to me this is a pretty all right Oregon offense, and it's a pretty all right offensive line. So I don't know. I think I will lean Texas Tech, but with the caveat, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of need to see a little bit more from this offense in a game like this.
Would that be your coin toss game of the weekend?
Actually, yeah, coin toss. I'll take that.
Yeah, I can agree with you more. Now, going over to Alabama and Indiana, it's at the Rose Bowl. What's being said is there's going to be significant amount of wind. Who would that favor in this situation?
I think it would favor Indiana a bit more, frankly, just their style of play, how they run the football, and what that defense has kind of done. I have such a hard time counting out Alabama in like any situation, though. Like, frankly, like we saw what happened over the final 3 quarters in Norman and all that, and like they looked dead in the water, and then just surged right back into it. And granted, you got a huge turnover and score in the pick 6 to kind of fuel that, and that's a play that's going to swing pretty much any game. But no, I don't know. I think that would favor Indiana, but again, hard time counting out Alabama. This could also be kind of a coin toss game for me, but I will lean Indiana on this one, though. I do think I think they'll be ready for it, and it would have been a little different to me if kind of like Ryan Williams was playing at a really high level and stuff like that, or playing at a much more solid level heading into this game. The fact that he's kind of an X factor in this game, what makes me want to go a little bit more towards Indiana. But I think this to me is my favorite game on the slate coming up. I think this is an awesome game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be fun, man. Indiana's got the little pulls on my heart. So, Tim, tell me what I want to hear. Where are you standing on Indiana and Alabama?
Yeah, so a lot of people are talking about the wind. There's also going to be significant rain. I think California has gotten it was like the wettest state in the United States this last week, and there's going to be significant rain still on the game, and that really I think it affects Alabama more. Just like Sean was saying, I mean, I don't believe Ty Simpson is going to be able to stretch the field. They haven't been the Alabama in the past with the Derrick Henrys and the Mark Ingrams just pounding the football, just kind of lining up and being able to manage the game like that. That's not that Alabama team this year. I think it plays in Indiana's favor. I think Indiana is going to really show out. I think that their fans are really going to show up to California. I think this might be their first or only second time playing in the Rose Bowl in school history. So with it being such an iconic stadium and an iconic moment, I believe that they're going to really show out. I don't think that Alabama is going to win this football game. I hope it's close. I think it's is it a 7-point spread?
Yeah, it's like 7.5, something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a reason for that. Indiana is the best football team in the country right now, all around. I mean, offense and defense, and then they have the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback to be able to put everything on his shoulders. I see him continuing them on to the semifinals round. I think it'll be a good game, but I think this one's gonna I think Indiana might actually pull this one away. I think that they'll do more than just cover.
Yeah, Signetti, come on, man. The story for Indiana is so beautiful. So beautiful. The last game will be Ole Miss versus Georgia. This is I thought this would have a bigger spread than it does. It's at 6.5 in favor of Georgia. Ohio State's is 9.5. I actually thought that would have been switched, but man, high expectations from Ole Miss. Is that what we're thinking here?
I'm going Georgia. I'm taking Georgia here. They've been steamrolling, man, lately, and I think that keeps up. I think it'll be a very entertaining game in all respects, but I don't know. And credit to Ole Miss, man. Like you look at, and we can all say like, well, it was just Tulane and all that. To have a guy like Pete Golding come in and all the turmoil, and then you go in and you win a home playoff game. It doesn't look like they even missed a beat without Lane Kiffin and all that. Credit to them, but I like Georgia here, man. I think this Georgia team, everybody's kind of looking at Ohio State to win the national title. I think Georgia is truly right there. And
this is basically a home game for Georgia.
Yeah, and
down the street.
I think they take care of business. So give me the Dogs.
Tim?
Yeah, I'm with Sean. I mean, I think Georgia is they're sitting right where they need to be, the number 3 ranked team in the country. I think that's where they are. I don't see Ole Miss squeaking this out. Trinidad Chambliss has been great this year. Kwan Lacey has been doing phenomenal as well too. The problem with Kwan Lacey is they're really feeding him the ball. I think he's like 3rd in the country in carries this year, and doesn't really have that build to be able to take that kind of load. So it's great that they're playing inside. I think that's going to benefit both offenses. But Georgia is just they are a very good team, and I think next week, and I'm not trying to look ahead, but I think next week with the Georgia and Ohio State game, I think that's going to be a phenomenal football game. So I do see Georgia winning this game.
Yeah, hopefully these boys feel a little inspired because they see Lane Kiffin on TV or something, and they come out buzzing. That's what we hope for, right? It's the last game of New Year's on the biggest stage. Why not? Why not? But that's college football for you, baby. Sean, I appreciate you joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Our Lobos insider, Sean Reider. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you guys for having me on, as always. Always a good time.
Yeah, appreciate it, Sean.
Tim, I appreciate you rocking with us too, brother. I will chat with you mañana, and let's enjoy that game. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Foley. Well, Borba missed out. Borba missed out on some good stuff there. On some good stuff there, man. And then boys were preaching. Sometimes I feel a little lost because that's not my world. I'm just trying to dabble in that college football world. It's been fun following it this year, and it's been cool learning from not only Tim, but now the addition of Sean. Gosh, I feel so insightful. And now I don't feel as mad as I was about our AD and Lovo leaving the UNM Lobos. They eased it just a little bit for me. Now let's go get another dog. Let's go get another dog because this thing's got to last for give us at least a month or two, bro. But to cap off the show, let me just let you guys know. I did win my fantasy football league. Although I know you guys saw me, I went on the date with the dog, but that was me paying my debt from a year ago. Now, should I be faulted for that? That's up for debate. That's up for conversation. But this year, I went from being the worst in my league to the absolute best. Guess what? We got first place in the SOL Watchers, which is a 12-team league. I went 10-4. It got myself the championship. Now, you tell me, is that good? Is that good? Is that good? I think so. This is the score if you guys want to know. This was the score. Let's see. Let's cheers to another season. I played balls deep. Nate Reyes, who was the 7th seed. Hey, sometimes you just got to get in the dance and just have a little fun. And that's what Nate was doing. Nate got in the dance as a 7th seed, and he was hitting us with them moves, those Brock Purdy moves. That's exactly what Nate was doing. But 135, I put it on him, and I came out victorious. And you want to know what's kind of cool? So the ESPN app, this is what they send you. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. All right. This is kind of cool. Let me show you guys real quick. We'll end the show with this. And then we'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And Borba will actually join us tomorrow. He'll be back. He's traveling. He went to the Chicago Bears 49ers game and had a hell of a time, he said. And he has a whole different perspective on Caleb Williams. That's what he said. So all that hate that he had towards him, all of a sudden switched once he saw him live. Maybe he saw him close, looked up and was like, damn, that's a big man. So don't be surprised tomorrow if JB comes on with some pink fingernails or something. He might be, as he's traveling on the airplane, he might be hitting them nails with a little bit of nail polish. But here we go. This is kind of cool. Let me see. All right. So we got first, right? Okay. So we're gonna watch the flashback. This isn't offered on the desktop version, or else I would be sharing my screen. But check it out. This is funny.
Hey there, your guy Damian Woody here. From one champion to another, congratulations on your title. The only thing better than one championship is 2 championships. You know what it takes to get there. Get back to work, get another one.
Get back to work and get another one. You want to know what's better than 1 championship? 2. Back to back. I'm coming. I came from the worst. Pause. I went from the worst in my division or in my league to the best, and I plan on repeating. So my friends that are in my league that are watching, be ready, boys, because I'm coming back better than ever next year. I know I went from last to best, but I'm planning on staying at the top. And that's what they say is the hardest thing to do. It's not getting there. It's staying there. And that's where I plan on being. And with that being said, folks, I appreciate you guys rocking with me this morning. This is Speaking Out Loud. We'll be back tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, where we can take your calls. Don't forget to call in at 575-808-9307. Also, go to our YouTube, subscribe, and watch the Jackson Eck interview. And leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And who should we get next? That's the question. Who should we get next? But until tomorrow, be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Shout out PMS. See ya. Oops, slight pause. Now, see ya.
Everybody trying to be content creators and